My parents nearly threw me out at 16 over a false affair rumor. Years later, they forgave my sister when she turned out to be the affair child, and hated me for exposing their hypocrisy. Hey everyone. Before we kick off today's video, I've got a favor to ask. We've noticed our channel isn't getting as much love lately, and subscribing is one of the easiest ways you can help us out. It's quick, free, and it means we can keep bringing you awesome content. Your support really means a lot, so let's work together to keep this channel growing. Thanks a bunch. Now, let's dive into the video. Hey, I'm jotting this down because I need to clear my head. I honestly don't know what I'm hoping to achieve by posting this on Reddit, maybe just to get it out there and not just in my brain. So, I'm 28 now, but everything kicked off when I was 16. The main folks in this story are my mom, dad, and my little sister Chloe, who's 5 years younger than me. So she was 11 when things went down, and she's 23 now. Then there's this guy, let's call him Richard, my mom's ex-boyfriend from before she met my dad, or so I thought. Our family life before I turned 16 seemed pretty average to me. We lived in a suburb, and my dad worked long hours at a demanding job, but he was a chill guy when he was home. My mom stayed home with us when we were kids and then worked part-time later on. She could be super involved sometimes and distant at others. Chloe was the baby and definitely got more attention or maybe just more patience than I did. I was the quieter and more independent one. Sure, my parents argued, like any couple, and it made things feel tense at times, but nothing seemed seriously wrong. Things changed the year I turned 16 when Richard got in touch with my mom. I didn't know at first, but I noticed my mom getting more tense over a few weeks. She was secretive with her phone calls, often taking them in her room with the door shut or stepping out into the garden. My dad seemed on edge too, and there were more hushed conversations late at night after Chloe and I were supposed to be asleep. One night, my parents sat me down. My mom looked pale, and my dad seemed angry but awkward. They told me about Richard, who claimed he and my mom had an affair around the time I was conceived, suggesting I might be his son. I was stunned, it was so unreal. My mom denied it hard, saying Richard was lying because he was bitter about their breakup ages ago. My dad just listened, not looking fully convinced, glancing between us a lot. The house was a mess after that. My mom cried a lot, my dad was distant, and their conversations were clipped when they spoke. Richard wasn't backing down, he gave specific dates and times that matched when I was born. Things got so heated that my parents decided I should take a paternity test. They said it'd prove Richard wrong and protect our family. I felt cornered, I was 16 and agreed. Waiting for the test and then the results felt forever. I tried to keep it together, going to school and doing my homework, but home felt like walking on eggshells. My parents barely spoke to each other, and things with me were just awkward. Chloe didn't get all the details, but she knew something was off. When the test results finally came in, my dad picked them up. We all sat at the kitchen table. He read them and said flatly that he was my biological father. The reactions were mixed. My mom cried, insisting she knew it all along and that Richard was lying. I felt relief wash over me, my dad was my dad, crisis over. Or so I thought. A couple of days later, my parents called me again. The vibe was different, colder. My dad talked mostly, saying that despite the test results, Richard's details still bothered him. My mom had admitted being in touch with Richard, but claimed it was innocent, saying Richard twisted things. She sat quietly, staring at her hands. Then my dad dropped this bomb, they'd been talking and thought maybe I should move out for a bit. Even with the paternity test, Richard's claim still hung over us, and my mom's connection with him was unsettling. So, there was probably more going on than my mom was letting on, things not even related to who my dad was, but still shaking things up. My dad kept saying just in case over and over. Just in case of what? Maybe I reminded them of some tough times, or maybe they thought I'd keep bringing drama? Even with the DNA test saying I was their kid, some part of them still had doubts or were just grossed out by the idea. My mom just sat there quietly, avoiding eye contact, not backing me up. After proving I was their son and dealing with the drama from my mom's past, they still talked about kicking me out. I was only 16, and they were considering this because of some accusations from an old boyfriend and because my mom hadn't been totally upfront about her past with him. Anyway, they didn't end up kicking me out. Maybe they saw the look on my face and realized how overboard they were going. Things didn't go back to normal, though. It was like this fake peace was hovering over us. My mom acted like everything should just be forgotten since it turned out she was right about who my dad was. But my dad kept his distance for a while, and he never said sorry for suggesting I should leave. My mom didn't apologize for the mess her past had caused either. The trust and security I felt with them were pretty much shattered. I saw my mom as someone who could mess up our whole family and not really own up to it. And my dad? Well, he seemed like the kind of guy who'd think about ditching his kid to make himself feel better, even when there was proof against his suspicions. I became super withdrawn at home, just focusing on school, getting good grades, and planning a future where I didn't rely on them. Spent more time with friends or alone in my room. We never talked about Richard, the affair drama, the paternity test, or the whole kicking me out thing again. It was this big elephant in the room with our family. Chloe, my sister, was mostly left out of the loop, though she knew there had been a major fight involving some guy from Mom's past. Years went by, I finished high school with good grades, and went to college in another city, which was a big relief. It helped put some space between us emotionally too. I worked hard, got a degree, and landed a good job. I built my own life, my own support system, and became independent. I still kept in touch with my parents, but it was pretty surface level. We'd chat on the phone every couple of weeks, I'd stop by for big holidays. There was still old tension bubbling under the surface for me, though they seemed to have moved on or buried it well. Chloe grew up, went to college too, and had a closer relationship with them, which made sense. She wasn't in the middle of that family drama like I was. I never got into the details with her, it wasn't her thing to deal with. I was polite and did the basic son stuff, but I kept a part of myself guarded from them. There was no real warmth or deep connection, just a functional relationship. Then, about 6 months ago, things went haywire again. My dad, by total chance, stumbled on some old emails in an account of my mom's that she barely used but had stayed logged in on an old family computer. He wasn't looking for anything specific, just cleaning out old stuff. These emails weren't from Richard, but from some other guy I didn't know. They were from over 20 years ago and spelled out this long affair my mom had with this guy, an affair that happened after I was born but around the time Chloe was conceived. The emails made it pretty clear what had happened. My dad confronted my mom, and from what he told me later in a strained phone call, she ended up admitting to everything, including knowing Chloe wasn't his biological kid. She'd kept this secret for over 20 years, letting my dad raise Chloe without knowing the truth. She watched me go through my paternity scare at 16, all while holding on to this even bigger secret about Chloe's birth. The fallout was immediate and messy. My dad was, understandably, torn up about it, but how he and my mom reacted towards Chloe was what set off another round of drama for me. Chloe, now 23, found out the truth and was obviously shocked and really upset. Her whole sense of who she was kind of crumbled. But my parents were there for her, offering endless comfort and support. My dad, having been betrayed, told Chloe it didn't change anything and that he was still her dad in every way that mattered. My mom was right there with him, too. When I found out about the whole Chloe situation, I was blown away. They were all over her with support, which she totally deserved since she didn't do anything wrong. But what really hit me was the double standard. It brought back memories of being 16 and feeling like I was some sort of problem child, a potential embarrassment. Even after a DNA test showed that my dad was my dad, I was still treated like I might be kicked out. Now here's Chloe in a real mess, and they're showering her with compassion while I got suspicion and threats over nothing, all because my mom made a poor decision with Richard. I decided to call them out on it. I kept my cool and laid out how differently they reacted to my situation compared to Chloe's. I wanted to know how they could justify backing Chloe up so strongly when they'd put me through the ringer for far less. I didn't want them to treat Chloe badly, just hoping they'd recognize how I was treated back then and maybe apologize now that they had this glaring example of how parents should act in such a crisis. But no, they just deflected and attacked. My mom accused me of being selfish, and my dad said I was heartless for bringing this up while Chloe was having a tough time. He tried to frame my experience as totally different because Richard was an outsider, while Chloe's drama was all family stuff. They couldn't see the hypocrisy and wouldn't admit they'd screwed up with me. That was it for me. Their inability to acknowledge their past mistakes or to treat me with the same kindness just cut off any last bit of obligation I felt towards them. I told them that if they couldn't get where I was coming from, if they couldn't see the blatant double standard, then I was done. I ended the call, blocked their numbers and on social media too. A few weeks later, they started posting vague, self-pitying stuff online about ungrateful children and the pain of being cut off. It was obvious they were talking about me. People who knew us started asking me subtle questions. I didn't want them to twist the story and make me look like the bad guy, so I put up a detailed post on social media. I kept it respectful, just laid out the facts, how they treated me at 16, the DNA test, my mom's long-running deception, and their totally different approach to Chloe. I made it clear their posts were about me and weren't true. I said I stepped away for my own peace and wished them luck with their current issues. My post got a big reaction. People who knew our family were shocked. Those who'd seen my parents' vague posts realized what had happened once they read my side. From what I heard, my parents were embarrassed and took their posts down quickly. My mom even deactivated her account for a bit. So that's where things stand. I cut them off, they tried to spin the story, and I responded with the truth, which left them embarrassed in the end. I don't feel bad about it since they took it public. There's no going back now. They haven't reached out to me since my post, and I haven't tried to contact them either. I'm wondering if sharing everything was too much. They started the online drama, but I took it further by being specific. Was it justified because of everything that happened, or did I just add to the mess by taking it public? I'm not looking to patch things up, those bridges are well and truly burned, and I'm the one who lit the match. So, after they tossed me the kindling for this whole mess, I've been trying to wrap my head around whether my reaction to their big reveal was fair, considering all the stuff they've put me through over the years. Fast forward about 3 weeks since I first posted about all this. First off, a massive thanks to everyone who read my story and shared their thoughts. I got tons of comments and private messages. I didn't respond to most individually because I was still processing, but I read every single one. Weirdly, it was kinda helpful to put it all out there and see that other people recognize the same behavior pattern I was talking about. A lot of folks asked for more details, so here goes. Chloe was 23 when she found out about her real dad, and as you can imagine, she was pretty crushed. I've heard bits and pieces, since I haven't talked to her after cutting ties with my folks. She's having a tough time but is getting a lot of help from my dad, and my mom's trying to patch things up with her. No clue about her relationship with her biological dad or if they've talked at all. My beef was never with Chloe or the support she got. It was more about how my parents treated each of us so differently. When I brought up equal treatment, I didn't mean they should be suspicious of Chloe or threaten her, that'd be so cruel, and she was just as innocent as I was in her situation. I just wanted them to realize how crappy they treated me when I was 16. I wanted them to see how wrong it was to consider kicking me out, even after a DNA test cleared things up, and they never even bothered to apologize for my mom's sketchy stuff with Richard. Meanwhile, they're all in with unconditional support for Chloe, despite my mom's years-long secret. An apology for the past would have been a good start. Instead, they called me heartless. About their online shade, they didn't straight up call me out by name, but it was obvious. My mom posted dramatic stuff like, "When your own kid turns away in your darkest hour, even after you did your best as a parent," implying I'm ungrateful. My dad's posts were along the same lines, talking about how young people lack loyalty and forget who raised them when things get tough. Their friends chimed in with sympathy, not knowing the real story, making me look like the bad guy who ditched my family in a crisis I didn't cause. When I posted my side, I kept it real and chronological. I explained the Richard incident from when I was 16, the paternity test, the whole "you might need to leave" conversation, and then jumped to the recent reveal about Chloe. I pointed out that my mom had known about Chloe's dad for over 20 years, and while I mentioned that Chloe's support was right, I also said my parents called me heartless for bringing up how differently they treated me. I decided to cut ties due to this repeated pattern and their denial. Their vague posts online were the last straw that made me spill the full tea. I didn't use any screenshots or the paternity test as evidence, as many suggested, because I thought my detailed narrative was enough. I didn't use harsh words, I just laid it all out there. Comments on my post backed me up on the hypocrisy and injustice of my parents' actions back then and now. Some people wondered if going public was the best idea, thinking it might make things worse or kill any chance of making up. But fixing things was never on the table for me, the damage was done a long time ago and just kept piling up. I was more about setting the record straight because they were spinning a story, and I felt I had to clear the air with the truth. Reflecting on it these past weeks, I'm even more sure I did the right thing. Their move to make me the villain was just what they've always done: deny, deflect, and point fingers when they get called out. My mom did it with Richard, and both parents did it when I challenged their hypocrisy. No regrets about telling my story, it felt like a way to take back control of my life. Since I posted, they've gone quiet and even took down their post pretty quickly, so there's that. So, here's the scoop: I haven't really needed to do anything new about my folks because I'm sticking to my no contact rule. Their numbers are still blocked, and I've let a couple of mutual friends know that my public post said it all. I told them I wasn't up for any messages from my parents, even if they thought they were trying to help. One of my aunts, my dad's sister, did give me a call. She was shocked by the stuff I revealed, especially the thing from when I was 16, which my dad apparently never shared with her side of the family. She didn't defend my parents' actions but was pretty sad about the family drama. I heard her out, thanked her, but made it clear that my decision about my parents stands. I also let her know that my relationship with her didn't need to change, but I wouldn't be discussing my parents with her anymore, and she seemed cool with that. Since my post, my parents have been radio silent, at least towards me. The public stuff I shared seemed to stop their online antics. From what I hear through the grapevine, my post clarified a lot for friends and extended family who only knew my parents' vague side. I'm not celebrating or anything, it's messy and sad because the relationship was already flawed. But I do feel a sense of calm, no more walking on eggshells or waiting for more drama. By cutting ties and telling the truth, I stepped out of their influence. I haven't talked to Chloe and don't know if she saw my post or how she feels. I was never upset with her, and if she decides to reach out one day, I'd probably be open to chatting. But for now, my focus is on maintaining peace for myself. Update number 2, it's been over a year since I first went public, and about 10 months since my last update. Things can really settle over time, but some stuff just gets more ingrained. My parents and I are in a complete silence zone, no contact from either side since that online drama. Through indirect chats, mainly with my aunt, I occasionally hear general family news, but we stick to not diving deep into my parents' stuff. Apparently, my dad legally adopted Chloe, which fits given everything that's come to light. It doesn't really affect me though, it's just like, okay, that's a thing now. I haven't spoken to Chloe at all, and she hasn't reached out either, which is fine. She's probably dealing with her own stuff, and my aunt said Chloe's focusing on herself, which is great. It's sad if my actions added to her pain, but it was tied to my parents' choices. Meanwhile, my mom's been all about fixing things with Chloe, which makes sense given everything. Whether they can truly sort things out isn't something I can predict. As for the family I once knew, that's kind of done. Holidays and birthdays have passed with nothing from them, which felt weird at first but now feels normal. This is likely my last update. Things have stabilized, and everyone seems settled in their corners. I don't see myself reaching out to my parents again.